So, starting into part 3 here, we end up with a cutscene with Killjoy. Because we can't go to the left, we can't progress until we go into the right room. And we have a mandatory talk with him. And we can kind of get an idea of what kind of a person Killjoy was.
When performing a lethal injection, it is essential that the needles be placed with absolute precision. And unlike standard medical procedures,
He's definitely got more of an old-timey science approach to him. He's a lot more visceral in his approach to things. Doesn't really care a whole lot about the subject themselves. But at the same time, he's not really just pure evil. It's more like he's just very literal in his scientific approach. Very much like older methods of science.
Thus achieving the desired end. And who are we kidding? We're not really trying to be humane anyway. Class dismissed.
So yeah, he definitely has an older standard to him, but then again, he's supposed to be like a old-timey doctor. So he's not just doing it to be an asshole, he's doing it for purpose. But at the same time, his purpose is kind of messed up. So he's more of a morally gray area.
Wait, what the fuck? Talk, is that you? Fuck, man, it's me, Dallas from Easton.
But here, we've got Dallas. He's actually a moral choice. We can either get rid of him as soon as we see him, or just let him run with us.
Now it's turned into the mother of all clusterfucks.
He needs your protection.
As you can tell by the evil voice and our wife's voice, we can either just instantly kill him or have him follow us. So,
Like there's no way
since we're going for the good ending, I'm gonna let him go with us.
We gotta try to get to the outside.
If you don't help him, he'll die.
Better off without him.
There is actually a benefit to saving people besides having them with you and getting the good ending. They can actually distract monsters and stuff to give you a little bit more breathing room. Because monsters will still chase other survivors, it actually helps in the long run. And whenever they do have weapons, they can help you even more.
No. Well, you don't know what you were missing. Come on, this shit's too
Dallas here doesn't start with a weapon, but he will eventually get one. So we'll see a little bit of an example whenever the Slayers start going after him. But for now, we're just trying to protect him the best we can. And they can die. Anybody that's with you can actually die, as well as you can shoot them. But here you can see him distracting them in the background. The monsters can eventually kill the person with you, or you can do it yourself, accidentally or on purpose. So, if you want them to live, you have to be careful.
You gotta jet, motherfucker. Those creatures are everywhere.
Which, it is kind of hard to just save them. Sometimes it's just down to AI being AI. Very escort heavy, not exactly the smartest from 2004 AI. But they do their best to try and stay alive at the very least. And as said, they do, even if they don't live, they do still offer a distraction for enemies. So, they do still come in handy. And as long as we don't end up killing the person with us, as far as I know, it doesn't count towards bad morale. So, if we don't end up killing Dallas, we at least won't get bad karma for it. So we'll still be free of the guilt of that, so to speak. And there you can see we actually got our upgrade for our insanity. Our blue bar filled up from getting a certain amount of kills during insanity, so it actually levels up our insanity mode, which gives our ground slam a different property, which usually has to do with the enemies of the game. Eventually we can get like burrower chains, we can get explosions with bullets like the marksman, we can get ground spikes, other sort of things.
Home wasn't no wine and roses shit, but you one badass son of a bitch. This way. It's time for us to bust out.
But for the time being, we're just gonna follow Dallas around. As said, he will be handy, so it's okay to keep him around. If you do want to go for a bad ending though, then you can just get rid of him. And another way that you can actually tell indication of how your moral standing is going depends on how Torque's model will look, but at the same time you can also look at your picture in your inventory. The picture will change depending on how your morality is going, as well as your own character model will change depending on your morality. If you're in good standing, then Torque will look clean and not or will look healthy, like fine, like a normal upstanding person who likes their hygiene. And if he's being bad, then he'll basically look like a walking corpse, like dirty, disheveled, almost like zombie-like.
I think you better take point. Lead us through this shit.
So you do have pretty clear indicators of how you're doing with morality in this game.
Oh, fuck! What the? It's like what they did to Byron. Huh. God damn, looks like these things kill their own too.
And Dallas here will get a weapon,
Fuck
so
yeah.
now he's going to be able to help us.
I feel so naked now. I won't be able to smoke them like you can, but I got your back.
He's not exactly the best at helping, but he is still help. Although it is kind of counterbalanced by the fact that he is another obstacle to shoot around. So it can be give and take.
Look at that mutant thing! Shit, what the hell is it?
But here we actually see our first instance of a mainliner. The junky monster of the game. Mainliners are inspired by exactly that, just drug takers, also referred to as mainliners, injection from the veins. So, if anybody's wondering where the name comes from, mainliner's just another name for a drug user.
Didn't they ever read Mary Shelley? Learn that shit don't ever work out.
And I don't know if everybody knows Mary Shelley, but that's the author of Frankenstein, so if you didn't, there you go. He's just making reference to the monsters looking like patchwork abominations, which I'm pretty sure everybody knows about Frankenstein, but
Shit,
there's your reference.
T-block. Yo, better keep our heads up in here. There's no telling where those gimp freaks
But
are.
we can just search around the cells and stuff. There's a bunch of writing on the walls, little tidbits of story here and there.
Wound up so cooked, he couldn't tell you his own name. That freak thing reminds me of him. Fucking mainliner.
And he just name dropped the next monster, so
You know what I just realized? You're the only brother I ever heard of who actually
here we have this guy in the cell.
I ain't leaving the cell. No way.
We actually have a morale choice with him too,
Hey, can you do a guy a favor? Look, shut the cells for me. Lock
and
it
he
down.
flat out tells us what he wants.
Keep me
So
safe longer.
if we lock the cells, it's actually a good morale decision. How exactly, I don't know, but
looks like
it is the good decision to lock that man in his cell. But yeah, the mainliners, they actually have pretty interesting characteristics as well as properties to them.
What kind of sick mutant was that?
They have a ranged syringe attack,
Fucking experiment, fucking bullshit. Watch out. There's
but
more.
the syringe attack can actually cancel out Torque's monster form, the Insanity. So you have to be very careful if you're using Insanity when a mainliner is around, because it will just instantly stop it. And if you get hit, there's nothing you can do to make that not work. So their ranged attacks are also just very disorienting and pretty bad to get hit by, because it will make your screen go all blurry and hazy. So we do want to be careful of that. And also the fact that after they die, they leave a chemical cloud behind, which will hurt you. So mainliners have a bunch of little intricate things about them, but they do have relatively low health, so we don't have to worry too much about that. But they also have a leap attack, where they will jump on you and start an event where you need to shake them off, otherwise they'll stab you and do a little bit of damage. But it also applies the blinding, disorienting effect.
On the east side of Carnet. That's where the government been doing their experiment. You know, turning the inmates into
But
those
if we flip that switch on the wall there, we can actually close the cell doors. So we wanted to do that. And in the monitor, we can see our wife in the next room. So we're gonna go see her in a second here. But we just need to hit the button to open the cell doors, and then we can go
Hey,
on.
talk. The gates are open now.
man.
We gotta keep moving, man.
Get away from me. You're just gonna bring him here.
That's why I'm here.
And yeah, we do have to talk to the guy in the cell again, or just walk up to the cell to get his confirmation that we did the good thing. So he is happy to be locked up again, so that's what we do.
I just had to get out. The first time I didn't want conjugal visits. The second, I just wasn't ready.
And here
to
we
give
will
up
get
my
rewarded
own
with
life.
revolver
My
ammo
chance at
and a
career.
talk with the wife,
Regret both times.
but we will also be attacked after the fact.
You've got to be strong to be free.
So I just go into insanity mode and get rid of them really quick. But here we can see our new special slam. We have spikes that come up from the ground, which I believe are representative of Slayers, their monster forms, because they're basically their shivs coming out of the ground. Not entirely sure, but that seems to be the case, given that there's not too many other enemies that have a particular form to do with that.
Trying to create a super soldier or some insane shit.
But we'll get more and more monster forms as we go along. Eventually I do get it to the max rank, which is, like I said, the thrust. But even still, the thrust is not the top ranking one, in my opinion. It is good for single target, but it's actually really bad compared to some of the other ones.
Man, the T-block showers. Bad shit going down here. When I was living in T-block, I'd rather stayed stanky than shower in this pit.
But we will have mainliners coming in because of the water in this room. So we actually want to hit the showers in this room. If we turn them off, then the mainliners lose a spawn. I'd forgotten the fact until a little bit into it, but the first cutscene is actually an indicator and a hint that mainliners spawn in puddles. So if you pay a bit more attention than I had, you'll catch on pretty quickly. It does take me a minute. But there we can see it's a leap attack where it tries to stab the needle into us, which I believe they say is a potassium chloride mixture, which is chemicals used in lethal injection. So that's another little tidbit. But here, I just take good advantage of the fact that most of the mainliners weren't looking at us. They were more preoccupied with Dallas, so I used our Insanity Form and the Ground Slam to get rid of most of them really quick. Like I said, mainliners can cancel out your Insanity Form, but since most of them weren't looking at us, I took advantage of that fact. Because your Insanity Form can get rid of the mainliners really quick, it's just, if they hit you, they cancel your Insanity Form, so it's a strategic opening kind of play. But yeah, as soon as you can start turning off the showers in this room, it definitely helps. Because the mainliners will just keep coming through the puddles. So here I finally do learn and start shutting off the showers. You can kind of just brute force your way through with shutting off the showers. Because mainliners don't do a ton of damage, the most you have to worry about is their leap attacks and the puddles that, or the chemical clouds that they leave upon death. You can actually just kind of brute force it with Zombium and shut off all the showers.
What they did to Byron.
But yeah, shutting off the showers as quickly as possible is definitely the play. As said, I just didn't pay enough attention in the beginning with the puddle of blood, showing that they do indeed spawn from puddles. And it appears to be any kind of liquid, not just water. But here, I learned, and I will shut them off as soon as possible so we don't get more and more spawning. Dallas in the meantime is distracting them, so he's helping out in his own way. Like I said, there's pros and cons to keeping people around. So I use Dallas as a distraction while I shut off all the showers. And mainliners do actually have like a pseudo teleport whenever they do sink into the ground. If they don't leave a chemical pool behind or a chemical cloud, that's just them doing their teleport so they won't be dead. Like whenever you'll see them melt into the ground, they actually don't die. They'll just teleport back to a spawn location. But if you see them do like a flip and leave the chemical cloud behind, that's a pretty good indication that they are indeed dead at that point. But we got through all the showers there. Here we just want to turn on the sink with the towels in it, and that'll spread water to the fire. It's an interesting little pseudo puzzle, I guess you could say. More of a interactive environment sort of thing. But for 2004 it was pretty interesting. And here we had bloodstains on the floor, so mainliners can spawn through that.
Fuck his ass up.
And we do have maps and stuff, so I don't really use maps a whole lot in this game. It's not really a map kind of game. It's kind of linear. At the same time, there are choices and paths, but they're not super intricate or anything, you can still find your way without a map
Man, but
pretty
like
easily.
being in the fucking wood, too dark. You know what I'm saying? You need a fucking wood in it. What the fuck you doing, man? Step off.
But just an example of Dallas wanting to step in the way and get shot. Always classic.
This motherfucker.
And in case anybody doesn't know, monsters in this game can actually infight, which can come in handy. Kind of like Doom-esque, where if they hit one another, they will start just battling each other. So you can use that to your advantage. The best use case is usually festers later on. They're guys with giant wrecking balls, essentially, for weapons that slam the ground in an AoE. But they're really easy to make them hit one of the other enemies because of their massive area attacks. And it will cause other enemies to aggro to them.
Fuck his ass up.
So if you want to take advantage of infighting, you can. Mainliners can also dart enemies with their ranged attacks. A lot of stuff like that can happen. If you bunch up slayers, they can slash each other. Burrowers can chain strike a bunch of people whenever they come up from the ground and start whirling. So it is an option for a strategic approach.
To survive this place, you gotta become it. I tried to fight it, but it's no use.
Oh, yeah.
And another appearance of Horus.
Hold on. I'll be up there in a snap.
As said in a previous part, Horus is kind of a reluctant person, like he's being held prisoner still. He was originally a prisoner, but even after his death by electric chair, he kind of is just stuck here eternally. So his story is kind of sad. In a way, he's kind of like a predecessor to Torque,
What the fuck was that?
but you can see how Torque can actually end up if he happened to fail.
I can't see shit in here.
So yeah, we've got the library. Nothing too insane. Just more mainliners coming along.
No place to hide.
And again, if they jump on us, we just end up shaking them off.
Motherfucker.
It's kind of like a classic Resident Evil event where a zombie grabs you, you just shake the hell out of the control stick, D-pad, directional buttons, whatever you want to call it, whatever you're using, and it'll force them off. And if you don't do it fast enough, they will stab you and do a little bit of damage.
I ain't nothing to fuck with. Yeah, what the fuck's up?
But we'll just want to take everything out in this room. Not really a whole lot to say. Just dealing with mainliners and then going to the next place. Meanwhile, trying not to shoot Dallas while he throws out one-liners.
Oh, brutal.
And I did accidentally throw a flare, but I don't really see a whole lot of point in flares in this. You can play with brightness like all the way down where you can't see a damn thing. But in all honesty, that just makes the game kind of annoying. So I do play with the brightness up a little bit. Because if it's pitch black, then it just makes everything that much worse.
That's pain, motherfucker. Man, so this is where the fucking library is. If I had got off my ass and found this place, I could have got my appeal together. Maybe I wouldn't be in this world of shit right now. Oh, fucking well.
And yes, the companions do have some funny dialogue sometimes. But here we're gonna go to the stairs. I actually do get a really weird line here. I don't know what causes it, but I think the guy on the wall actually says it.
You think you got it bad?
So I kind of double take. I have absolutely no idea why that line happens, but it did kind of surprise me and make me laugh. Like James Bond-esque sounding guy just hanging on the wall with needles. But now we go to the infirmary. Not much to really say about this room either, just grabbing materials and eventually having to deal with more mainliners. Mainliners are definitely one of those enemies where the game introduces them and then throws a ton of them at you. I don't know if it's just to get you used to it, or there's kind of some kind of other symbolism in the fact that they are medically syringed drug users, kind of, in a way, but this section of the game definitely has the most of them. But eventually we do start getting other enemies again. And newer enemies as well. Here we can actually get a preview of the next area though, with these two guys hanging from the ceiling.
Hargrave's gonna whack us. Hurry up.
But they are talking about Hargrave, the warden. And unfortunately, they keep talking after you activate them, so if you did want to see that, I would recommend doing it after you explore the entire infirmary, because they do not stop in their lines, at least not in this PC port. So they do get a tad annoying near the end, whenever you're trying to listen to other things and get other stories. Like, I don't know why they keep repeating their lines every 2 seconds, but they do. And had I known, I would have probably just not went in there to begin with. But here we catch a mainliner on the shitter, so that's kind of weird. And we can hear the phone in the background, which I will go get. But we just had to deal with the mainliner first. And Dallas being an inconvenience, have him get out of the way.
This is your doctor, Talk. It's bad news, I'm afraid. It looks like your problem is altogether more serious than I had originally suspected. You will need to come in. In the meantime, don't do anything rash. Don't become too upset. Don't get into any altercations, because there's no telling what horrible thing you might do. You must come to see me soon if you ever hope to gain control.
But yeah, it's a little bit of a peek into Torque's past there. He actually has anger issues. So, depending on how your perspective of somebody having irrational anger goes, you can see Torque as a terrible person, or just somebody with like maybe bipolar syndrome that's untreated. Which certainly appears to be the case with Torque in his insanity mode. But that kind of makes the story a bit more intriguing on what exactly makes Torque Torque. He can be just a really angry person, or he can be somebody that just has problems with his anger and can't control it. So, like I said, depending on how you have a perspective on anger or people with anger issues, Torque can be a misunderstood guy just needing help, or he can just be a gigantic asshole. The story isn't extremely deep, but it does have a bit to it. But yeah, depending on the ending that you get in this game, you can have a different perspective on it in those ways. But Hargrave here, we just want to go up to the second floor because there's a giant hole in the roof above the machine gun. So we'll just drop down on him, and since he can't aim behind, we kind of just commandeer the machine gun after we get rid of him. And as long as we kind of do a left and right here, we can dodge a pretty good amount of his bullets. But for anybody that didn't notice, we actually saw Hargrave a lot earlier on the monitors whenever we were looking through them. He was executing prisoners just because. They never really explain why he was executing prisoners, but he does. And for the machine gun, again, the controller setup is kind of bad for it, so I just ended up switching over to the mouse really quick, and you can see how much smoother it got once I did the mouse. If I was using the controller, it was just really jerky and hard to aim, so anytime you see the super smooth machine guns, it's because I was using the mouse to make that apparent. But yeah, after we do get rid of Hargrave and we jump on the machine gun, a ton of Slayers spawn in, so we definitely want to use this machine gun. You can also use your monster form for a little bit if you want to farm some of the upgrade for it. But the machine gun will absolutely tear through them anyways. And I did actually end up losing Dallas here. I don't know where he went, but he is gone, so I assume he probably died to Hargrave just standing in the doorway like an idiot, but it's kind of hard to determine. But yeah, Dallas is now gone. We don't have a companion anymore. So we don't have to worry about shooting Dallas or friendly fire anymore. So no more concerns with that. But we are getting close to the end of this area. We just need to go over the boxes on our right and then up to the second floor. Sometimes this game does have stuff where it's not obvious what to do, or may seem a little weird and off the beaten path, but a little bit of exploration and you can find the way relatively easily. I do get lost a time or two, but like I said, just looking around at what you're having to work with and remembering what Torg can't and can't do, what Torg can and can't do, you'll find your way. But here we have our supernaturally floating kid who summons mainliners and slayers. There you can actually see him start infighting. So the mainliners actually took out that slayer for us, which was kind of nice. But with more enemies, you can eventually make that work more and more for you. Ends up being pretty helpful, in all honesty. But with that, we're gonna be ending this part. And we do have a graffiti in the bathroom that says Horace lives, reference to Horace himself. But with that, we're gonna be ending part 3 here pretty shortly once we walk outside, and then we'll be on to part 4. So let me know what you guys think, and have a good one.